let's just talk a little bit with you guys about what it really takes if you want to be a CEO. Now, to be clear, it's an ambition that lots of people have. Lots of managers get to senior ranks, and they've always had their sights set on being a CEO. And that doesn't mean they're necessarily cut out for it. One of the fundamental things that you have to learn if you're going to be an effective CEO is you've got to learn the practice that we call centering. This is your capacity to stay calm in the face of chaos, to stay present when everybody else is caught up in the swirl that's constantly going on, and to maintain your focus when the whole world is trying to distract you. So let me give you an example from my own experience. So years ago, our crew has been working really hard, and part of what we do, as you know, is take people to the edge, because our belief is that it's only at your edge that new possibilities open up. And we do that in a variety of ways, psychologically, physically, not to scare people, but to get you to that moment where your body's kind of quivering and shaking, because that's when the portal for learning opens up. Now, since that was our job, for us to be at our edge, because our belief was that you can't teach what you don't do, we had to find something a little different. So we had set off to go explore parts of Africa, and we set a mission for the guys that were working with us. Find us a place in Africa that human beings maybe have never been, or certainly have not been in a very, very long time. So we were out in the wild in Tanzania, and we had been walking, hiking in this area, and the way it worked is we'd get up about sunrise, go until noon or 1 when it got too hot, take a nap or just get out of the sun till it was like 3 or 4, and then go until almost sundown, where we'd make dinner and call it a day. Now, what had happened is that we'd been trekking. We did this in silence because we weren't hunting anything. We wanted to have the experience of being in the wild and feeling it and being with the animals and stuff. And we were so far out in the bush that we would have the deer family members, and there was just all sorts of them, come up, and they'd be within 10, 20 feet of us because they hadn't seen human beings before. They didn't know to be afraid of us, and we weren't doing anything really hostile or dangerous. At the same time, it was all about being quiet and still. So we're walking through an area, and poachers had been in there, and what the poachers do is they set fire to everything because it drives the animals to them. So now all of a sudden, we're in this area that's been burned. We're kicking up nothing but ash. The only thing that didn't burn was things that had thorns on it. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, good Lord, this is how smart you are. You've paid to go on the Bataan Death March. And we'd finally come out of this burn, walked around this bend on the river that we were walking up, and suddenly we surprised a pride of lions who had come down to the river to drink. Now, that was, startling to be sure, but it got a little more complex as soon as we realized that we'd kind of done the worst thing that you could do, which is the adults had gone this way, the cubs had gone this way. You don't want to be between mother and cub lion. So in short order, we suddenly found these lions feigning charges at us from about 50 yards away, getting closer and closer. And you've all heard lions in the circus. It's an impressive sound. When they're talking to you and there's no bars and there's no trainers and it's personal, it vibrates your biology in a whole different way. So in that moment, you could see that some of the guys were a little freaked. Me, I just dropped into center in a way I'd frankly never done before and found myself in this space of ultimate calmness. I don't have any way to explain it. It hasn't happened to me to that degree since, but it was this unique, phenomenal experience. So in this swirl around me, I'm calm. We could see that the thing that made sense to do was just move towards the river, let the lions and the cubs get back together, all would be good. So we organized ourselves, moved towards the river, when suddenly, out of the river comes a rather irate hippo, because we've now intruded on his territory. So we're sitting there going, good Lord, 2 minutes ago, we're bored out of our minds. Now we're in the middle of an Indiana Jones movie. And we finally were able to find a way up the riverbank, let the hippo have his territory, let the cubs get back together. And it took probably a half an hour for the adrenaline rush to wear off. But what I took from that was the immense power of being able to maintain center regardless of what was going on around me. That, my friends, is the lesson that you need to learn if you're going to be an effective CEO. Now, hopefully, for your sake, it won't be about lions directly, but there will be things out there wanting to take you down. There'll be chaos, there'll be uncertainty, there'll be confusion. You're not going to think your way out of all that. You got to feel your way through it, and you can't do that if you don't have the capacity to maintain your center.